One Nature of the Incarnate Word, and St. Cyril of Alexandria. Note: as is well known in the polemics between the Chalcedonians and anti-Chalcedonians, an exceptionally important role is played by the legacy of Cyril of Alexandria, a saint equally revered in both traditions. The most disputed formula in his texts, in turn, is the expression "one nature of God, the Word incarnate," Miaphysite, to theou logos esakomene, which first appears in St. Cyril's book On the Right Faith to the Princesses, 430. There it is a quotation from the book On the Incarnation, which St. Cyril considered to be the work of St. Athanasius of Alexandria, although the modern scholarly consensus is that this text actually belongs to Apollinaris of Laodicea, CPG N 3665. The first to express the opinion that the text belongs to Apollinaris were the Chalcedonian polemicists, in particular St. Emperor Justinian. At the same time, the Chalcedonian theologians not only pointed to the Apollinarian origin of this formula, but also gave its Diophysite interpretation. It received conciliar approval at the Fifth Ecumenical Council. If anyone, speaking about the one nature of God, the Word incarnate, on the basis of such expressions, tries to introduce one nature or being, pousin et toi ousian, of the divinity and flesh of Christ, let him be anathema. The interpretation of the formula was also left by St. John of Damascus in his precise exposition of the Orthodox faith. We confess also one nature of God, the Word incarnate, using the expression incarnate to denote the essence of the flesh, according to Blessed Cyril. In other words, in Orthodox Chalcedonian theology, the formula one nature of God, the Word incarnate, is read as denoting two natures: the divine nature in the hypostasis of God the Word, one nature of God the Word, the divinity, and the flesh in which it was clothed during the incarnation, incarnate humanity. The basis for such a reading is given by St. Cyril himself at his first use of the disputed formula. He writes, "One nature of God the Word, incarnate and worshipped together with his flesh by one worship." One nature of God the Word is incarnate and is worshipped together with his flesh. Since one nature of God the Word is revered together with the flesh, it follows that flesh is not part of this one nature. In other words, when St. Cyril first uses the formula that interests us, he designates the deity, thought of in itself, with the formula one nature of God the Word, and refers to the flesh separately. This language cannot be called strictly Diophysite, but it is conducive to the interpretation given to it by St. Justinian and St. Damascene. However, such a reading applies only to the formula one nature of God, the Word incarnate. The alternative formula, one nature of the incarnate God, the Word, does not seem to lend itself to such a reading. Our opponents from among the anti-Chalcedonians published precisely this formulation found in the saint. My friend, he who says that when we confess the one nature of God, the Word incarnate and made human, we allow for mixing or merging, is extremely idle talker. Some time ago, a blogger known as Rumios_F prepared what he thought was a refutation of this argument of the opponents of Chalcedon. After checking the Greek text in Patrologia Graeca, Rumios_F discovered that it says the exact opposite. We present his translation and the Greek text in PG. And of course, my friend, he who says that mixing and merging occurs is an idle talker. For it was not only the nature of the incarnate and manified one that was preached to us, oude mia pros imon homologeto phusis, sesarkomenu te kai en anthropokotos. We decided to check the text in modern critical editions and found that, as it seems, the text is not entirely correctly presented, both in the publication of the anti-Chalcedonians and in the material of Rumios_F. Greek text: Malista men o etire per tuepes olegon fulmon genestai sucrasin, edemia pros imon homologoto phusis, uyu. Then the nature of the universe is not one. The reading for there is not one nature, oudemia instead of edemia, which PG cites and Rumios_F uses, is based, as the editor points out in the critical apparatus, on conjecture, which goes back to a note in the margin of one of the manuscripts. The codices of this work do not contain such a reading in the main text. Thus, although Rumios_F is not at all to blame for this, the critical edition was not available to him. His reading, unfortunately, does not correspond to the authentic text. However, the reading when we confess one nature also seems unfounded to us. In our opinion, the existing text cannot be read this way. Firstly, eide cannot be translated as when it is if with an emphatic particle, even if. Secondly, ei pros emon homologoito does not mean we confess. The verb in this sentence is in praesens optativi, so it expresses not a direct statement, but something conditional and hypothetical, even if we confessed. From this follows our proposed translation. My friend, even if we confessed the one nature of the incarnate and human Son, anyone who says that, because of this, a mixture or fusion occurs is certainly an empty talker. What conclusion can be drawn from all that has been said above? The formula, one nature of God, the Word incarnate, is a formula that St. Cyril uses periodically. From its first use, it lends itself to a Diophysite interpretation and even inclines toward it. The formula, one nature of the incarnate Word Son, is apparently used by St. Cyril only once, not affirmatively, but hypothetically, even if we were to say so. This probably means that this formula cannot be considered Cyril's in the proper sense. The saint never directly states that he professes such a thing. However, this is only our assumption in this case. We saw our task mainly in clarifying the saint's text itself. Sources: Sire, Alex, or Ad Arc 10 ACO, T1, Vol 1, 5, P65, St. John of Damascus. An exact exposition of the Orthodox faith, 3751. Source of knowledge, Moscow, 2018. P. 264, Sir Alex, or Ad Arc 10 ACO, T1, Vol 105. P65 VK.com Romeos-F.livejournal.com Cyrillus Alexandrinus Quod Unus Sit Christus 737 SC 97 P 378 379